Welcome to the part 1 of the Python course for AI and data science. There are a lot of Python courses on the internet and I have one too on my channel, but I want to create something specific for AI and data science. So this course is going to give you everything you need to know for a data scientist, machine learning engineer or an AI engineer role. But I'm not going to be adding the extra stuff that you don't need for those jobs. The course is going to be beginner friendly. We are going to start from the installation of the Python and the code editor, and it's going to be really comprehensive. We are going to finish with classes and exception handling. So I planned this course as 7 parts, and you can see the parts that I planned in the screen right now. I'm estimating that each part will be around 30 minutes and the course is going to be around 4 hours at the end. We can directly start to our course. Let's start with installation. Okay, we are going to start to our course by downloading Python to our computer. For that, we are going to visit python.org. And in here you can see that we have a section named downloads, and when we come here we can see that it shows downloads for different operating systems. I will be using Mac, but if you're using Windows you can directly click on Windows. I'm going to show that one too. For Mac installation you can simply do drag and drop after installing the installer, or if there are steps you can follow the steps. For Windows installation I'm going to mention a thing. You can select a version from here. For both Mac and Windows, it's not really important. You can pick one versions which is in the stable releases, and you are going to install an exe file for installing Python. Like, let's say that you are going to use this link. When you are doing the installation, you need to select the option that I'm going to be showing on the screen right now. You need to select add Python to path for using it from the code editors or from the terminal for running Python codes. It's an important step, so I just wanted to quickly mention that for Windows computer users. Okay, after downloading the Python from here, we are going to download a code editor. I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. It's probably the most used code editor in the industry, and we can directly run our code from terminal, but for coding we are going to be using a code editor. Think a code editor like it's a notebook for your computer where you can write Python code, save it and run it. It gives you colorful highlighting, suggestions and tools to make coding easier. And for VS Code specifically, it highlights errors while you type. It has a terminal built in so you can run code without leaving the editor, and it supports extensions that help Python development. So the website for downloading is the code.visualstudio.com, and after that you can just press the download button. It shows Mac downloader in here, but if you are using Windows or Linux you are just going to see that downloader. After downloading that, we are going to be ready for starting coding. Okay, I'm going to be recording in the VS Code screen right now. When you have VS Code installed, you are going to see a screen like this, and in here let's talk about this screen one by one. This is the welcome page of the VS Code, and I'm going to mention what is in here right now. You can see that we have a start option and it says new file, open, clone a repository, connect to something, or new workspace with Copilot. We are going to be using open in here for opening our project directory. Like, I'm going to click on open in here. You can do that too. Here I created a folder for creating my Python files. So I'm just going to select that. You can just create a new folder or you can create a new folder for it. And when I say open, it's going to open that directory. And from now on, I can see that directory in here and I can create files in here. So this is one of the areas that we are going to be using mostly. It's the Explorer. It shows the file directory. Like, let's create a file. I'm just going to click on the icon at the left and I will say like test.txt. Like, this is a text file and I'm going to run something in here. Like, let's say test, and I'm going to say Command and S. If you are using Windows you can say Control S, and after that this file is going to be saved. So from your code editor you can create files, you can save them, you can change them, and also you can delete them. We are going to be using Explorer section for that. Let's continue. We have search in here. This is for keyword search, and we are just going to say, let's say like test, and it shows in which files that text appears. Okay, now we can just delete this file easily from our code editor. Okay, let's talk about the third section. This is the source control. We are using this for versioning our code, like for tracking the chains and working as a team. We are going to talk about that later on. It's not important for now. We have run and debug section. We are going to be using that for fixing our programs, and we have extensions section in here. It's important, so we are going to make some installations in here. So what I recommend at the first place is just typing Python in here, and you are going to see that it's going to be showing you Python from Microsoft. You can install that, like you can just use the button in here. It shows disable and uninstall because it's installed in my system, but it's going to show install for you. And also you can install Pylance. It gives smart code suggestions and detect errors faster. And after that, we need to install Jupyter. Jupyter lets you open IPMB files directly in VS Code, which we call as Jupyter Notebooks. And we are going to be using Jupyter Notebooks in this course, so it's pretty important. And also this one is optional, but you can install it. It's the code runner. If you want to install that, you can install this one too. It's helping you on quickly running Python scripts with one click. Okay, now I'm going to click back on the Explorer and let's talk about the terminal. So let's just close the extension and let's talk about the buttons on the right upper side. So in here, for the first one, we have an option as customize the layout, and this is for changing the structure. And at the right side, what we have on the second is toggle primary sidebar, like it's just for closing and opening the sidebar for these buttons like this. Okay, at the third, we have the terminal opener. We are going to be using that a lot on programming, like it says toggle panel, and let me just close the sidebar and open the toggle panel. Here we can see that we have problems, output, debug console, terminal, and ports. So right now let's talk about the terminal, and we are going to be discovering them, the others, later on the course. So here from the terminal, you can just type Python for checking if your installation has been successful. Like if you are using Windows, you are going to type Python, and if you are using Mac, you are going to say, or Linux, you are going to say Python 3. And when you say that, if you see something like this, it's okay for getting used by the code editor. Like if you don't have Python, it's just going to throw an error like Python is an undetermined keyword and something like that. And you can just type exit and you can just press enter for leaving it. And also what you can call is, again, if you are using Windows, you are going to type this. I'm using Mac, so I will say Python 3. And after that, with 2 dots, you are going to say version with 2 lines. And when you make this run, you are going to see that the Python version that you have. Okay, I'm just going to click on the toggle panel button again at the right tab. And after that, I'm going to just click on the toggle secondary sidebar. Here, we are going to see that we have an AI screen, and you can talk with AI on your files from this section. It's integrated with GitHub Copilot. Okay, now at the left bottom side of our screen, we can see that we have a profile icon for accounts, and we have a manage section where we can change the theme or task snippets, anything like that. And we have a settings section in here. I'm just going to click on that. And from here, we can change the settings of our code editor, like from the text editor and workspace wise and stuff like that. And I just want to quickly show you the color. Like from here, you can just click on the themes and you have a color theme in here. You can select light mode or dark mode from here. Like you can change the light, or I'm going to be using dark mode in this course. And I also generally use dark mode in my job and tutorials. Okay, now we are ready to start. So for starting, I'm going to click on the Explorer and I'm going to create a file named code.py. And how I do this is you can just use the icon at the left side like new file, or you can just simply right click on the section which gets opened from the Explorer, and in here you are going to see that you have a lot of options. You can select the new file and then you will say something like code, and you can just create the code.py and code.ipmb. Like this is going to be a Jupyter notebook. So here we created two files. These two are related to Python. One is a Py file and one is a Jupyter notebook which ends with ipmb. And here we can type both codes, like I will say test, and we can type some code like print. And this is going to be our first code, like I'm going to say hello world. This is a classic first code. You can just use that too. And after that, you can just use the button at the right upper side for running it. Like you can see that it says run Python file. And when I run, you are going to see that we have the result on the terminal, such as hello world. And it directly shows the result in the terminal. And in Jupyter Notebook, I'm going to open that. You are going to see that you have different sections for generate code, markdown, run all, outline, and much more. So in here, I'm going to click on the code section and I will say select kernel. I will say Python environments, and you can use the environment that you see in here with your Python version. Like 3.11.4 is going to be the thing that I'm selecting. If you install 3.14, it's okay, you can directly select that. And after that, in here I will say print, and again I will say hello world like this. And after that, I'm going to just use shift and enter, and this is going to make this code run and open up a new code cell. And here this time you can see the result from here. So this is not in the terminal. And this is a plain code editor, and it's notebook cells which mix code and text. Like from here I can say markdown and create a markdown object like test. And after running this, we are going to see that we have a markdown object. So we can use both of them when we are working with Python. Both has advantages and disadvantages. Like on these Python files, you are going to be using them for writing complete programs and complex detailed programs. And on Jupyter notebooks, you can just create a full notebook for presentation or just running codes together, testing stuff, and the stuff that you need to run each cell individually. Like I can type some code in here too, and I can just run the cell while I'm making this one wait. You are going to understand the difference more with working with Python more. And generally, Jupyter notebooks are used for interactive experiments and data science, and Python files are generally used for programs, scripts, and applications. And since we can go cell by cell, I'm going to be using Jupyter Notebook mostly in this course. And also you are learning Python for AI and data science specifically, so for that you are going to be working with Jupyter Notebooks a lot when you are creating projects, so I think it's better for the general flow. So let's close this Python file and let's start working on our Python codes. So let me delete this code cells and I'm going to create a new one. And let's start by learning more about the print. This is going to be the first thing that we will learn in Python. So print is a function, shows output on the screen. It is how Python communicates with you. Every beginner starts with print because you can see the result of your code. It's useful for debugging variables and calculations, and it lets you display messages for users. So let's use it for printing simple text again. Here in quotes, I'm going to say hello Python. And when I make this run, you are going to see the hello Python text in here. It showed the message on the screen. But if I directly write print hello Python without quotes, we are going to get an error because in Python we specify text with quotes. We are going to be talking about the data type of the texts, which is string, in later minutes of this video. Okay, let's continue. Let's say that we want to print numbers. I will say print 30, and after shift enter we are going to see that it prints 30. Also, for running the code cells in Jupyter Notebook, you can just use the arrow at the left top of the cell like this. Okay, on print you can just print multiple items separated by commas. Like let's say print and let's say test, and also after that let's print like 400. And when we make this run, we are going to see that test and 400 are printed together. As I mentioned, print is a function, and in Python, in functions, we have parameters. We are going to talk about the functions a lot more in the later phases of this course, but I want to show you the different use cases of print using its parameters. Like, again, we can give some different values like apple, banana, and cherry, like this in a print statement. But let's say that we want to add a separator. Then what we can do is we can just say separator, and we can put a separator like this. And after that, with separator parameter, we are going to see that we are going to have the separator between the items that we passed in the print statement. Also, we have an AND parameter which works like print. This is the first part, and then we can pass AND, like let's say 3 dots, and then I'm going to write another print statement by pressing enter, and I will continue in the same line, and this continues on the same line. So you can see that we have these two together. But if we didn't pass the AND parameter, let me quickly show you the result of this. This is going to get printed separately. Okay, that was a great start. Now we are going to talk about variables in Python. A variable is like a labeled box where you can store information. Instead of writing the same value again and again, you store it in a variable and use the label for calling it. We are using the variables because we can reuse the values easily, change values without rewriting the code, and make our code readable and organized. Let's do a quick example on this. Let's say that we say x and we define the variables with equal sign, and let's say 10. So after this moment, when we call x, we are going to see the 10 as result. We store the 10 value in x. So x is our variable. And for creating variables, our syntax is variable name equals to the variable value. And in this way, we can define variables. It can be numbers, text, or other data types. So let's do example for all of them. Let's start with numbers. Let's say that x equals to 10 and y equals to 3.5. So we store numbers in it. And let's do a text like name, and let's say my name, Honor. And we can also store booleans. We are going to talk about the data types in the later phases, but let's say like is sunny, and we can directly assign true. And we can even give non-value like z equals to 9 as a placeholder. And here we can see that we had the variables x, y, name, is sunny, and z. So let's use print on each of those. Like let's say print, and let's say x equals to, and let's print the x. So in here we are going to be printing the variable. And also let's do this for others, like print y equals to, and let's print y. Then let's say print name equals, and let's pass name, print is sunny equals, and then pass is sunny, and after that print z equals to, and then we will print z. So we are going to see that we have our stored values printed in here, like 3.5, honor, true, and none. And also another thing I want to mention about variables is variables can change over time. Like let's say a equals to 10. So whenever we call a, we are going to see 10 right now. But let's do an arithmetic operation. So I will say a equals to a plus 10. So now a is going to be 20 like this. So it's updated. And let's say that right now I want to assign like a as 5. So if I call a again, we are going to see that we have 5. So it can change if you define a new value or if you do any kind of arithmetic operation on a variable. So we have naming rules for variables, and there is some best practices, like It's better if you define a variable with a relevant name, like let's say age equals to 20. But if you say a equals to 20, it's not going to be understandable in your code. But if you define it like age, you are going to see that when you're reading code, it's going to be much easier for you to understand. And we have naming rules like it needs to start with letter or underscore, and it cannot start with number. Like let's say example equals to, let's say, 10. But if I say one example equals to 10, you are going to see that it also shows there is an error. You are going to get an error like this. You can't add spaces or special characters like, let's say, example like this, and you are not going to be able to define that. Or let's add a special character like example, and let's set this. So this is going to raise an error again. And it's case sensitive, like let's assign something like price, and let's say it's 40. And if I try to print price with lowercase letter at the start instead of uppercase, I'm going to get an error. But if I print the price with the uppercase letter at the start, I'm going to get the result. Okay, also Python lets you assign multiple variables in one line with commas. So let's say A, B, and C. We can assign them with 1, 2, and 3. And if we print A, B, C like this, we are going to see that 1, 2, 3 assigned to the A, B, C. Also, we can assign same value to multiple variables like x equals to y equals to z and 0. So if we print x, y, and z, we are going to see that we have 0 for all of them. It's useful for shorter code and initializing contours quickly. And each variable has a data type. Like, let me quickly call the name again. And in here, we can just call this with a type function. And here we can see that it returns string. So let's try it with something else, like let me call the x. It's 0, so let's print the type of it. We are going to see that the type of x is going to be the integer. Okay, awesome. We learned about the variables. Now we are going to talk about the data types. But before that, what I want to mention is in Jupyter Notebooks, you don't need to use print cell by cell, and it's a great advantage. Like we have the x variable, when we call it, it returns 0, but if you directly call it with x, you are going to see the result. In Python files which ends with .py, it's not possible, but in Jupyter Notebooks, you don't need to use print statement for variables. Like let me call the name, and we are going to see that it returns the string that we defined. Okay, awesome. Now let's talk about the data types, which is a super important concept. So what are data types? A data type tells Python what kind of data a variable holds. It also tells Python what you can do with that data. And this matters because Python uses data types to perform calculations correctly. Certain operations only work with specific data types, and it helps prevent errors like adding text to numbers. And the common ones are integer, float, boolean, string, complex number, and non-type. So let's talk about them one by one right now. We are going to start with integer, but before that I want to show you the commands in Python programming. So in Python, the hash symbol is used to denote a command. Like if you write something in here, like this is a text, you are not going to see that it's going to get printed, but the code is going to run successfully. If we just write this is a test, we are going to get an error. But if we add comment like this is a test, we are going to have our cell running successfully. And let's talk about their types one by one. So we have single line comments, which is any text following the hash symbol on a line is ignored by the Python interpreter and is for human readability only. We are using that for explaining our code or just leaving notes to our developer team to check on the piece of code. So this is a standard way to add explanations, notes, or temporarily disable code. Like I'm going to call name. here we are going to see the owner, and if I call the name with a comment, we are not going to see a result. So let's say that I called the name and I just add hash symbol at the start. So now it's going to return nothing. So if you just want to disable a specific part of your code, you can use hash symbol for it. And also let's say like print name, and after this code we can just add comment like this is a comment on the same line as code. So what happens here is it's going to make this run, and this is not going to be printed. So here we can see that we have the text in here. And also let's say like print owner, and I will say this is a comment on the same line as code. It's similar to the upper one, but when I remove this hash symbol, we are going to get a syntax error. Okay, now I want to show you how we can delete the code cells that we create in a Jupyter Notebook. In here, I'm just going to go to this cell that I wrote the data types in here, and I'm going to just use the button. When I click a cell in here at the right tab, it has an option as delete cell, and I'm just going to click that for the comment ones, since we finished talking about them. And after talking about them, I want to continue with the integer data type. So integers are whole numbers, and there is no decimals. And also it's positive or negative. And why we are using it is counting items, indexing lists, and some stuff like scores, aids, and quantities. And let's do some examples like A equals to 10, B equals to -5, and C equals to 0. So let's say like print A equals to, and let's say A, then let's say like type is type A. And let's copy this line and paste them 3 times, and we are just going to say B, B, and B. And for the third one we will say C, C, and C. And we are going to see that for classes we have integers, and we have the values in here, positive, negative, and 0. Now we are going to talk about the data type of float, which is floating point numbers. So this is numbers with decimals, and it can represent fractions. And I'm not going to type why we use it this time, but we use it for measurements, prices, percentages, and scientific calculations. And it's a data type that you are going to be using a lot when you are working with AI or data science related tasks. So let's do some examples, like let's say pi, and it's 3, 14, 15, I remember 9. And let's say like price 19.99. And here you can see that after dot we can add the decimals. And let's say like temperature, and let's say like -2.5. So let's say print pi equals to pi, and type equals type pi. Here let's print them for like price, and type price. And also let's do like temperature, and we will say temperature, and we will say temperature in here again. So we have these floats in here. Now let's continue with the booleans. So let me type its name, booleans. So what is it? It holds true or false. And let's type like usually the result of a comparison or condition. We are going to talk about them in the later phases of our course. And why do we use booleans? We use it for controlling the flow in programs and also the track status or flags, and it's a really useful data type, and we are going to be using it a lot when we are working in AI. Like, let's do a similar example to the previous one. Is sunny, let's say true. Is raining, false. So let's say like print is sunny and is sunny. Let's print it, and let's say type, and let's pass type is sunny. And also let's say is raining, and let's get the variable like is raining, and let's say type, and let's call the type is raining. So we are going to see that we have the booleans on the type, and we have the true and false values in here. So in real world, like let's say we are tracking something like can a user login, and let's say can login can be true, and this can be an example of a real world use case. Okay, now let's talk about strings. Strings are text enclosed in quotes. Like, let's also type it down, text enclosed in quotes, and it can contain letters, numbers, and symbols, and we use it for names, messages, file contents, and anything that is textual. Like, let's do some examples. Like, greeting is going to be hello Python, and let's say that name is Alice. Okay, and let's write our print statements like greeting, and let's get our variable greeting, and type of it is going to be type greeting. And let's also do this for name, and type is going to be type name. And let me quickly show you different functions. Like, we can also call length of a function like length of the greeting, and we are going to see the character count of the greeting, and you can see that we have 13 characters in here. And we have string methods, like we can access its characters. Like, let me quickly call greeting, and in here if I open a bracket and if I say like 0, then we are going to get the first element, because in Python indexes start with 0. Like, if I want to reach the E, the second character, I need to call greeting and 1 like this, so I can reach it. So we can use brackets for reaching our characters, and we are going to talk about them more in the string methods, but I just want to quickly show you this. Like, the fifth character is the space in the greeting. Like, let's count together: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5 is the space. And if we go 6, we are going to see the P like this. Okay, and also we have string methods. Like, let me quickly call greeting upper, and we are going to see we have everything in the uppercase. And if we call like greeting.lower, we are going to see everything in the lowercase. So we can use methods after using a dot after variable on strings. Again, we are going to be talking about it more in the later phases of our course. Just want to quickly show you that strings are really useful, and they have a lot of methods that we can work with them. Now let's talk about the complex numbers. So what is it? It's numbers with real and imaginary parts. So let's give an example like 2 plus 3j. And we use it for scientific calculations and signal processing. So let's say like z equals to 2 plus 3j. So let's go with prints right now. Print complex number, and let's call z. We are going to see that we have 3 plus 3j, and let's say print real part, and I will say z, and I will use dot for using its methods, and I will call real. So we are going to have the real part in here as 2 correctly. And let's say print imaginary part, and I will call z dot imaginary. So we are going to have the 3 in here as imaginary part. And also we can print its type, like print type and it's going to be type Z like this. So we are going to have the class complex in here. Okay, for the last data type for now, we are going to be talking about the none type. So it represents no value or empty box. And actually it's box. Let me quickly fix the typo, and it's useful as a placeholder. And we are using it for initializing variables before assigning values or represent missing data. Like let's say x equals to none, and we will say print x equals, and we will call x like this, and we will say type equals, and we will call type x. And here you can see that x is none right now, and it prints nothing when we directly call it. But if we call with print, we are going to see that it returns none. And also let's assign a value to x, like x equals to 10. Now let's say like print x now, and let's go x. Now it's 10 like this. And let's think of a real world example, like user has not entered email yet. So what we are going to assign email as none. And this is a real world use case example for it. Thanks for watching my Python course. I created a playlist with the other parts of this course. If you want to watch more parts, you can check the comments of this video. Also, I'm sharing a new data science video every week on my channel. You can subscribe for more videos like this. Have a great day.